There's a certain dramatic effect from seeing a peek at the man Anakin Skywalker this cyborg character Darth Vader once was, and while we once could only see this at the end of episode 6, with the additions of Rebels, Kenobi, and the comic universe, it's safe to say we'll have more to go over today as I explore each time Darth Vader's helmet was damaged or removed in canon and legends. So starting off with Darth Vader and the Lost Command, which is in 19 BBY at an unknown point in that year. So this one is one from Legends, which features Darth Vader hunting down Tarkin's son on a mission from Palpatine. They eventually realized that it would be better to simply kill Tarkin's son, as this would motivate Tarkin to be a more dedicated person to the Empire. So at the Atoan system in the Ghost Nebula, Vader and the 501st Legion would begin warfare on a planet covered with tar pits, and Vader would receive visions of Padme in the meantime. He would eventually be attacked by assassins from Captain Shale, who was trying to protect Garoche Tarkin while Vader was sleeping with no helmet on. Vader would be tied up but would explode in anger after a vision of Padme disappeared again, and would then gouge out Captain Hale's eyes before surviving another explosion that was strapped to his chest. The woman with Garoche Tarkin, known as Lady Sero, the High Priestess of Atoa, was the one who put those visions in his head, and when he finds this out, she would plead to let her and Tarkin's son live, but Vader, overcome with grief, would collapse the structure in all around them, which would kill the two and leave Vader buried alive for 4 days. The thing I find miraculous here is that Vader survives for this day, plus 4 more with no helmet whatsoever. Then again, this isn't the first time Vader is seen with no life support connected to his face in this graphic novel, so one could argue that either the creators did this for stylistic reasons, or they lack a basic understanding of the Darth Vader lore, as obviously that would be impossible and he would die long before this even gets to this point. Next up is on Mustafar in the 2017 Vader comic run. In this one, which is issue 22 specifically, the mask of Darth Momin, an ancient Sith, is flung onto his head, which shows his whole life, the story of this character, and how he was interested in art at a young age. After the vision is over, Vader flings it off, which gives us a brief look at the back of his head. While this is a canon example, it doesn't offer a great explanation as to how Vader survives for these few moments here, although it's safe to say that perhaps the dark side energy of Darth Momin's mask was keeping him alive here. Star Wars Purge. This is in 19 BBY, specifically 1 month after episode 3. In this graphic novel where Darth Vader, on his hunt for Obi-Wan Kenobi, comes across a nest of Jedi, he would battle with them and almost be overwhelmed, but when one of the Jedi would attack him with a cortosis blade, which momentarily stopped his lightsaber blade, this would lead to him snapping the Jedi's neck before grabbing their blade and using it against the other Jedi, that being the cortosis sword. But then, when an Alina Jedi named Master Choi would throw their green lightsaber at Vader, this would cut a hole in his faceplate directly in front of his right eye. Now before we continue into the shows and movies, I must say that I won't be including back to tank or meditation scenes, because otherwise this video would drag on for like 30 minutes, but know that there are scenes like these in Kenobi, Empire Strikes Back, and even comics like Star Wars Dark Visions 3, where a nurse falls in love with Vader, and it's this whole weird thing and he ends up stabbing her when his helmet isn't on, so we could count that I guess if we wanted to. Now for Kenobi, the 6th episode, part 6, which is in 9 BBY, 10 years after episode 3 of course, so on an unidentified barren moon near Jabim is where this fight took place, and after a duel through a maze of jagged rocks, Obi-Wan was buried by Darth Vader, and he would break free and then lock in before damaging his chest piece and then slashing the Dark Lord's helmet open, which would lead to him, Obi-Wan, seeing the burned face of Anakin, and after apologizing for the fate of Vader, Vader would say that he himself killed Anakin, not Obi-Wan. With this, Kenobi would realize his Padawan was truly gone and would back away. Rebels. This is in 3 BBY, 14 years after episode 3. So on the planet Malachor, or not 14 years, that'd be, how many years? That'd be 16 years, right? Yeah. Because I guess the Rebels seasons are a little bit spaced out. I always thought it was like season 1 and 2 were in the same year, but I think it's season 1 is like 5 and then it goes up. Yeah. Anyway, So on the planet Malachor, Ezra would be pulling a Sith holocron to him as the temple was collapsing, but Vader would start to pull its back until Ahsoka would flip over him, slicing his helmet. This would in turn reveal the face of her former master, Anakin, but she says she won't leave him again, but then Vader responds with,
"Then you will die."
Unfortunately, some fans have complained that he doesn't look damaged in the face enough here, but to be fair, the Rebels team probably wanted Anakin from Clone Wars very visible under there, and also he can emote more this way. As far as the realism goes, because it's only a small piece of the mask, it makes sense to me at least. So for another Legends entry, this is from The Force Unleashed in 2BBY. In this game, Galen Merrick, who was once Vader's apprentice Star Killer, now turned Jedi, and working to save the rebellion leaders, he would fight Vader on the Death Star and actually knock his helmet off, with Vader having his injured breathing sound, but then would be defeated by the Emperor, and then Vader, who was clearly helmetless for a while now, would walk up and discuss the future with his master. I don't think this would be too unrealistic considering that it's not off for an insane amount of time, but maybe it is one of the more out there entries on this list. Our last big one to look at today is from Return of the Jedi, where after Luke redeems Vader when Anakin comes back to the light and saves Luke, his son, by killing the Emperor. He's basically dying here from the injuries as the Force lightning completely ravaged his suit. He would ask Luke to allow him to look at him with his own eyes at least once, so Luke would take off the helmet and would see the shocking appearance of his now old and damaged father, and he would talk to Luke here, make peace, and be redeemed at last before slouching backwards and then dying. So I've always wondered if is it a mixture between his helmets coming off killing him and the lightning or what, and it really does seem like the lightning just kind of destroyed his suit, because that was one of the big components of his suit, was that the Force lightning could always be used as a thing against it. Then again, you do see Palpatine shooting Force lightning in the comics sometimes, so maybe when they made those they weren't really thinking too hard, but I do think this is a pretty cool way to die. So for Vader, that is, I wouldn't want to go out that way personally.
It was actually very excruciating, thank you very much.
Symbolism and overuse though, some would argue that every single time you see Vader without his helmet, that being damaged or anything like that, obviously not in the back to tank because that makes sense, that has to happen. Whenever it's damaged, it kind of takes away because every single time it's just a little bit less cool, but I feel like it was really cool in Return of the Jedi obviously, and Rebels, and probably not Kenobi, it's probably one too many times. But then again, that Kenobi scene is really well done, even if I don't consider that show canon at all, and I think it is really poorly directed, but I think that scene itself is really well made for sure.
I feel lost.
Maybe it's because you haven't shopped at DBBH store, which now has a brand new summer drop with 10 different products.
What?
Use code VaderWasRight for 25% off all products.
And as far as symbolism goes, a lot of people have compared the Rebels and Kenobi's scenes, saying that on one of them you have half of his helmet cut off, and on the other one you have the other half cut off, and then Return of the Jedi, Luke actually takes the whole thing off, so it's his master and his apprentice can only do half because they're that important to him, but then his son takes the whole thing off because that's connected to Padme, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. Point is, there's some cool symbolism in there, and yeah, so there is some meaning to all of this. But anyway, that's it for this video. You can subscribe if you want to. Make sure to check out the live streams we're doing every Friday night. We're going to play some old classic Battlefront and some different games like that. Also, consider being a member to support the channel, and please, if you will, check out the merch for this summer, as I would really appreciate that. And there is some really cool stuff on there, like a clone graphic tee shirt that you might like as well. Anyway, I post normal videos every Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also shorts 2 times a day every single day. But yeah, see ya.